ago. We're here tonight having our meeting about writer communications. What I researched was the difference between and the most useful way to use different things. And what I looked up and studied was blogs, newsletters, podcasts, and podcasts come in two forms. There's the audio podcast that just you listen to like we used to listen to the radio, and then there are video podcasts as well that some people do. So we'll just touch on those different things and how they're used and when they're most useful for people. I do have, as I said, I got somebody here saying something that not for us. I'm going to go ahead and shrink that now because I don't think I need it. Does anybody here that we have with us tonight, do you use any of those already for yourself? I'm talking about what you yourself would prepare, create, and send out or whatever. Does anybody here use a blog or?
Yeah, I use the blog all the time myself every week.
Okay,
So
and so we have blogs. Dan, did you say that or no? Okay. I do one occasionally, a personal one on that's not writing topic, but it's my own, whatever topics I want to put out. And I do that. How about newsletters? Does anybody here do a newsletter? And Jay, Joan, no. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out newsletters right now, and I've just signed up for MailerLite, and it's hard for me at this point, but I'll figure it out.
Sure. Well,
oh, for Pete's sake.
in most cases, in order to have any of these things, you usually have to have some sort of platform that you'll be on so that you can point to it when you give out, like you could say, well, I have this website, and if you go there, you can sign up for my newsletter, or whatever. But tonight we're going to talk about the differences and how they're best used. Most of the places that I contacted or looked up and studied and actually copied some of their information were interested in it as a tool for marketing, which they equate to business. Okay, so sometimes they refer to as how businesses will use these things, and they're referring to any kind of small, large, or other business, and you're really, other than if a person is trying to do something artistically, because there's two different kinds of things. You may want to write short stories and send them out and just call them a blog and say, here's the recent short story that I created. And that's a creative use of any of these things. But let me see now. I think Jerry has said my blog is off the WordPress platform. Yep, that my webmaster up for me some time ago. Yeah, I have several. Everything I have, all of my websites are on. I always have to overdo everything. I'm never satisfied with just one thing. But they're all on WordPress. Sometimes it's obvious because I don't have a strictly personal domain name that I use because I don't want to pay a lot. But usually it doesn't even show that it's WordPress, except maybe down at the bottom. So frequently people don't, and mine are all in the form of websites that include a blog or a newsletter. Now, let's get to the differences. Some of these are intended to be ways to simply send information to your followers. A newsletter is typically used in that fashion. These are people that are already coming to your site. They know about you somehow. Maybe they've run into you on one of the social media platforms, and you've got your address for your website there, and they go there, and they are at your website, and on that, in most cases, people, authors, or any business will offer people to sign up for a newsletter. Newsletter is usually free, and it's intended to be something that you send out. I think of it in terms of keeping your followers. And a blog is typically used to reach people who are not already your followers and entice them to follow you and become a follower. So frequently, blogs are typically put on websites because on a website you can tag these with words that will get them search engine recognition, search engine optimization. Search engines don't show newsletters or any of those kinds of things because they're not really picked up as an item that would be shared with the general public. They reserve that for blogs. Good example of a newsletter can be found at Rachel Ritchie Substack. Yeah, I think I've seen her stuff. Yeah. So now would you call that a newsletter or a blog? And you're muted, so maybe you want to unmute because they are two different things.
There we go. Okay. A newsletter is okay. If it's a blog, it stays just on the website. A newsletter goes out to emails
But that's
as well as being on your website.
that's not the only criteria.
Right. But it
Um,
also gives like the people who sign up for it extra information about your writing process and sneak peeks at upcoming projects, insider information about characters and things like that.
yes. Usually a blog is something that covers one topic.
Yeah.
And it's some article that you've written. It could be about your writing. It could be about some part of the writing business or some pointing to something like maybe you want to share some site that you ran into and you want to talk about how neat that site was or that service that somebody offered. And so it's like writing an article and then making it available. Typically, blogs are used to promote whatever business. They're sitting on a website. When you go to a website, you'll see these articles on there that you can go and they're normally listed backwards by date. And so the most recent one is on the top, and a blog will then cover a particular part of the information that the person who owns that one website or the company or business or whoever wants you to be able to read this. Frequently, they're used to answer questions. People have maybe asked that business for certain kinds of information. Someone said, Jennifer, I've said out several things to explain that Kalela was the person that was going to do a presentation on. Originally it was going to be a critique of member newsletters, but she is. Joanne, I followed the link and there's a fee. Is that customary? A fee for the. Let's see. You must be talking about something in the. A fee for Rachel's Substack typically will send out. I get information and articles from a lot of people at Substack. It's a cooperative where writers post their things and then they usually offer a certain amount of what they do. They offer something for free to be sent out, but they ask for donations to subscribe. Usually it's a small amount. And then you get some additional benefits with most of the writers. They will offer you an opportunity to maybe go to a special presentation that they do or something like that. The problem is here, I'm getting all these things here in the chat, and I'm trying to talk about this stuff, but at the same time, I'm getting, let's see here. Maybe I'll drop this for a bit and come back to it a little bit later. But, so where was I? Blogs, according to all of the industry people and all the people that wrote about them, the purpose of a blog is usually on a website to carry information regularly. And that information, they tell the search engines that new blog or new article is available. And that's picked up by tags and goes out, like on Google. When I do an announcement that I have a new article and I send it out, it goes out as usually a little piece, and it'll show up in the search engines, depending on what a good job I do on adding tags. If I don't do a good job, then it doesn't. Newsletters typically are not promoted that way, so that's the primary difference between them. One is to send out into the world, get the search engines to include it so that people are drawn to you. And then the newsletter is something you can send out to people regularly via email because people will subscribe to it. We had someone with us up until about a year or so back, Patricia, and she moved to, I think, Colorado, and she has a beautiful, beautiful newsletter. She was doing novels about history in Spokane, and she would send out a monthly newsletter that had all these beautiful pictures from the history of Spokane, and it showed other, things like that. And she'd cover other related things, but it wasn't just about her writing. So usually newsletters cover more than an author's particular writing. And then again, whichever blog doesn't need to be about the author at all. My blogs aren't about writing, they're about other things. So, and then there's such a thing as the blog, starting with a V, and that's a video blog that is sent out. Typically, it is shown on places like TikTok, or people may have it up on Facebook, something short. I think of those reels that they have on Facebook as being like blogs, because people are trying to promote their activities of whatever sort they are, but they're done with some kind of video. So they're not just words. So those are the three different kinds. And one of the things that, one of the biggest advice that was given is don't try to do everything at once, because you'll get yourself so overworked, and there's so much involved in each of these. So you're trying to find the particular audience you want to reach. Now, if you do not have a website, it makes it a little harder because you don't really have a platform where you can use tags and things like that. I will send this long page with all this information out, and there's probably 5 or 6 different online sites that I pulled information from, and there are many things that they agree on and cover, and there are a few things that are a few details at each place that seem to be special to them. So I'm happy to send that out to you so that you'll have it to sort of peruse at your time. The other thing that is available to us is podcasts, and they come in a couple different kinds. One is just the audio podcast where you can go out on like Spotify if they're still alive. They're they're in deep doo doo right now. But if you go out for an audio one like that, they're all over the place wherever they host. We're usually where you can get music and stuff. If you want to do a podcast that's also video, then you're probably going to be putting that on YouTube. That's the primary place where you can do, half hour, maybe hour long things. But as you move up into away from sound and into video, the expense goes up quite a bit because of the equipment that's required to do it. And also, the expectation of viewers is that the quality will be excellent. So that's the general overview. Now, if you have any particular comments or things you'd like to add to this, oh, how saturated is the market for blogs? I'm trying to think. I thought there was some figure that I saw that talked about how many, was it thousands or, let's see, Constant Contact was one of them. Boy, trying to think if they actually gave it. There's got to be, I would say, a million, several million, something. I mean, you're talking about worldwide. And so, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I pulled the figure for that. But you are, anything that you do in marketing is going to be competing with everybody else's. It's just a fact. So when you decide who your audience is going to be, now if you have a website and you want your audience to be the people that you bring to your website through some other means, maybe not even a blog, but you on social media, for instance, maybe you post things on Instagram or you post them wherever, and you point to your website, and maybe then they go there, they see some stuff you've written, some things you put on your website, and they say, oh, this looks pretty interesting. Yeah, I'll sign up for the newsletter. So then they sign up, and then you have their email address, and you start sending your newsletter regularly. Now, one of the major differences between blogs and newsletters is newsletters typically, the best advice is once a month, because you're sending out a wide variety of information and you're doing it's something long. You may have announcements about your book coming out. You may have, you're going to do sales. You may have some kind of calendar. You may include conferences and things that you've run across that you want to share with people. So a newsletter is going to be filled with a lot of different kinds of information. And how you design that is going to be important, because if you try to put very many long things in there, people are not going to read it. They're just going to skip over that stuff and look for the little sound bites. So depending on what you're selling or writing or promoting, you have to figure out now, how does this person or how does this audience read their stuff? Now, I send out a newsletter to the Guild, and you've seen my newsletter. It's a little title up here that says INWG News, and then it's narrative, and it's just some stuff. And I put a calendar, upcoming events, upcoming calendar, maybe announcements that people have asked me to share, that their book's coming out on X date, and they want everybody to know. That's my version of a newsletter. I don't spend a lot of time. I mean, I gather information all the time. And when I think I've got a reason to share that, I send out the newsletter. But it isn't anything like what you think of as a beautiful, nice, long newsletter that's full of pictures and things like that. Years ago, with the book clubs and that I do and with the guild, there was an agreement made that I would do text only pretty much and not stuff the email box with a bunch of long stuff because nobody wanted that. So that's why my stuff looks so simple and plain. The bargain I'm keeping. When I do a blog, on the other hand, it's something I've written and it's on a particular site that I have. And I put an announcement. When I do that, WordPress asks me, do you want to share this? And so I can automatically share it to Facebook or the other things. All I have to do is open that account up on my browser and say, yeah, share this to Facebook, and boink, in goes the thing. So you will see that in, I've listed a couple of them, I think, in the INWG group page. And it's one of them, if you look for it, it shows this old typewriter sitting there on the desk. And I just said, I've just released another, my blog, and here's the article. And it's got the link automatic. You click on that and it takes you right to my website where that blog is and right to that blog page. So, and then it's up to the person that goes there to decide how much they want to look at the rest of what I have on the website. There's nothing to make them, I don't make them jump through hoops, in other words. So is that difference between those two things? Is that kind of making sense to you, or do you have more questions about that? Or
I'd like to hear more about what people include in the newsletter. Something more what's your name, Mary J. MJ Huden?
Mhm.
Yeah, what you said was in Rachel's newsletter and stuff, the kind of things that she puts in her newsletter, what other authors put in their newsletter.
She talks about things that happen in her family. She talks about the things that inspires her to write a new scene. She talks about things that, she fights when to write. Like this last one, she talked about how life had interfered with her writing process, but she was working on getting it back. She talks about her upcoming projects and she's also, she does all of her own cover art. So she talks about doing her cover art and testing different markets for different pieces of art that kind of resonate and who likes which cover better, things like that.
so does she do her newsletter like once a month, and then all these topics are in it, or not
Yeah.
all of them, but yeah. So and then she emails it out, right?
Right.
Okay, so yeah, so that is a newsletter according to industry standards. That is not a blog.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, I wanted to hear more about what people put in their newsletters.
I am
Yeah,
very,
newsletter.
I'm sorry.
Pardon, Jean?
I think I talked over Joan. Sorry.
Do you have a newsletter to?
Well, actually, I've had a blog which helped me launch a book, but it was a business book and it was very different and I don't maintain it anymore. But I do subscribe to two authors' newsletters and they are very different. One is distributed through Substack and it is a weekly love letter to her followers. She is a writer and writing coach. Her name is Charlotte Rains Dixon. She is in Portland. And it is just a short article that she writes on Fridays and you receive on Sundays, distributed through Substack. It often has links to the writing retreats that she leads down at the bottom. And it may have writing prompts in it, often it is what she's working on, what she's frustrated by, why she didn't write that week. She wrote one issue 3 weeks ago, a conversation she and I had about why I'm not writing, and wrote kind of a response to that. Then there's another one, and I'm trying to remember her name, and I'm just blanking on it right now. I don't know if she uses Substack. She's had this newsletter. It's about monthly for years now. And she started out as a perfume writer and now is a self-published mystery writer with a couple of series.
I know her.
You know her? She's in Portland too. She works at what do you call it? As a consignment shop. And in every one of her newsletters, she talks about her book and what's coming out. She references a little bit of the perfume writing. She shows a vintage outfit that is in one of the shops that she's really entranced with. And then she'll advertise a class that she's offering or whatever. I cannot remember her name right now either. She's got this long flowing red hair, and her newsletter is really good. Both of these are really good, but they're different, right? What's common about them is, in addition to the amusing content, which may or may not be useful to your writing career, they've also got links to their offerings at the bottom of them. And I think this mystery writer, whose name I'm not remembering, distributes hers off of a personally curated email list in MailChimp, not through Substack. I read them because they're motivational. I really love the perfume writer's writing because she honed her skills on that. And I also like vintage clothing. I gotta say, I don't love her mysteries so much, but I love everything else.
Yeah,
Are you
it-
talking
it
about
would-
Tamara
It
Berry?
seems to me,
No, it's
yeah, it
not.
seems to me then, Jean, what you're talking about is this person has defined a target market. And the target market has to be people who are interested in perfume or people who are interested in vintage clothing. And one of the things I struggle with is, who is my target market? Because if I want to invest this time and effort in building up a following, it seems to me that I need to find people that are wanting to come back to, are interested in whatever it is that I'm writing about in my, whether it doesn't matter whether it's a blog or a newsletter. Well, it does, but it's a matter of repeat customers, if that makes sense.
And I
Yeah.
was gonna say that just a comment, the fact that she uses MailChimp tells me it's a newsletter, because Substack is a group, it's a place where writers can be, and they don't have to have a full-fledged website, but they're there. And so when their new article, their new blog is set out, you can go back there. You just go, click on it. I'm on Substack. I actually have followers. I don't write, but I have followers on there that evidently are interested in whatever the heck I'm doing. And so it's more, the Substack stuff is a blog, whereas what you're usually MailChimp is simply a mailing service, just like Constant Contact is.
Mhm.
So that's where you sign up to get your newsletter sent out regularly.
So Joanna, to respond to what you were saying, I'm not sure that's entirely true. I've taken a class from the mystery writer, a couple of them actually, a thrillers class and a marketing class years ago. And I've known Charlotte since 1986, so our careers have kind of tangled around each other. Charlotte is very much about getting writers motivated. That's what she naturally does as a writing coach with an MFA. And she's very much about getting people, she has a business partner and they lead these writers retreats in Europe. And she's interested in getting people into that, but she's just a loving person. And she's there to encourage writers, even if nobody's listening. And the mystery writer, ironically, her deal is to get her writing out there. And she wants to write what she wants to write. And she's just picking up whoever that sounds and smells good to. And her primary income really comes from working in the consignment shop. So they're not necessarily about establishing their brand first. They're instead establishing their uniqueness and seeing who it attracts.
I understand what Joanna's saying though, because I know where she's at in her journey. And she's right, because the blog is how she will get people's attention. And she can get the, if she sends it out via like WordPress or anything like that, then she gets picked up by Mr. Google and by all those sorts, and included by topic. So if I write an article about the stupidity of, don't take this wrong, guys, but if I wrote an article about the stupidity of men and I posted that on my website thing and sent it out, then that would show up under Mr. Google as a blog, with, but just as under that topic, you know, it'd be, maybe it would be men, might be misogyny, I mean, whatever tags I put. And then when people are looking for interesting content, they would, they might run across this coming up in a list, and then they would follow that link, because as we know on Google, you just get this link. So then you click and they would go to my blog. And of course, they'd run into the previous blogs I'd posted and all that kind of stuff. And I have used my blog to start getting followers. So, but the newsletter that I do, there's no place to put it to get the attention of people to draw new followers. But they work in tandem. Once you are comfortable with blogging, because blogging, you typically might post a new one every week or every 5 days or every day. Some people do a short blog every day. And that's because they want to saturate the search engine market. They want to have it out there so people will run into all these different topics that they're posting and will be drawn to their site. And then once they're brought to the site, people see those and then they say, hey, I like this website, and they may sign up for the newsletter that's there. If you want to find out when these articles are coming out, sign up for my newsletter, blah, blah, blah. And so they kind of work in tandem. And when it comes to the market that we're talking about here, for everyone, for the information that all of these sites have provided, you know, when I look, the market is not, you know, you'd think it might be, oh, people that like this or people that like that. But your market is, are they people who don't know who you are? That's a market. Are they people who do know who you are? That's a market. You see, it's who are you aiming this product at? This, not the product, not the thing you're selling. Who are you aiming the information at? So I will send a blog to reach people who've never heard of me before. And then I hope they come see me. And then I will send a newsletter, which I have several people signed up now off of the Guild website. And that would attract a newsletter because they've signed up for that. See the difference there?
Well, what you had said though, is a writer can't do absolutely everything. So you have to pick what you want to do.
Exactly.
Blog, or you write a newsletter. And
Right.
back to Johanna's question, I think you do have to figure out who your audience is and who you're writing to, because you know, I have a lot of family and people that I've met through a SPY conference and high school classmates and, you know, other writers and stuff on my newsletter, and I use MailChimp. But I also I put it on a Excel spreadsheet so I can transfer it over to MailerLite. I'm not, I have all the names and email addresses, so I could transfer it easy to MailerLite if I have a problem with MailChimp. I keep that separate, but I think you do have to know who your audience is. My audience isn't just writers. I don't write a thing to encourage other writers. Hopefully I write something interesting that's interesting to several people. Sometimes I get comments, I really like this one, or, otherwise, I'll offer something, a giveaway, I'll say the first and the fifth person get a free book. I'll put that in the subject line. And I get a lot of people, that's a really good newsletter. You get a lot of response from that because people will respond and try to get the free book. And, so that's a good way to promote your newsletter and get more responses from that.
But this simple rule of thumb to keep in mind is newsletter when you know who they are and you have their email address so you can contact them directly, and blog when you're going out into the strange world and you don't know any of these people. That's the rule of thumb. So you can describe it any other way you'd like, but in the industry, that's what they tell us. And then the marketing people are all, some of these sites are all marketers and stuff, so they use this stuff all the time.
I think one of my issues that I've been trying to figure out, especially because I write contemporary fiction, women's fiction. And yet when I look kind of across the board, especially contemporary fiction, it's kind of, a lot of times it's how you slice and dice it in terms of attracting people to this. Because I think it's sometimes, a lot of times for me, I see it as this, as the starting point is the genre that kind of, you start to funnel it in terms of people who are going to be interested in what you're writing, but also in kind of where you are writing. I see that particularly, let's say in cozy mysteries, you develop a following in terms of the type of cozy, I'm getting very specific, the type of cozy that you write. So I have a number of writer friends who write cozies, but they're very specific. One in particular likes to write her cozies around purses, different, that kind of thing. And so it draws people in, it provides for her a place where she can demonstrate an expertise that's going to again draw people to what she writes. I hope that makes sense.
Are your blog located on a website, Joanna?
I beg your pardon?
Is it, where do you put your blog?
I haven't started. I'm trying to figure out what to write a blog about. And that's kind of where I start stumbling on myself.
Well, it'll have to be available to people. You know what I mean? It will have to be, that's why usually people have a website to put their blog on.
Okay, so I have the website.
Okay, there you go. So on your website, then when you write an article and you get ready to publish it, okay, and it'll say, do you want to publish this? And you say, yeah. And you can send it out. Well, one of the things that's very important is on a website like WordPress, if you write a blog article, part of the process is to choose tags assigned to that particular article, not all of it, but that particular one. So let's say you wrote mysteries about dogs, and maybe you switch. One mystery is about schnauzers, and one mystery is about boxers. Well, one of the things you may want to put out in your tag is if it's a story about schnauzers, you want to get that out there, because then people who love schnauzers you're gonna put a tag that's like mystery, schnauzer, um, and if it takes place in a strange place, you may want to put that tag in there. Let's say it takes place in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Okay, so let's say just just potentially those are tagged. When that gets sent out by your website controller and it goes out, then Google picks it up. There, the whole thing about your quality of your optimization tags and everything affects what Google does. But it checks out your site, it checks out the thing, and the things that theoretically are higher on the quality list at Google have to do with your internal bouncing around, like, do you have good connections here and there? They may look to see if you're connected to other authors, are there other sites? Because they want that traffic pass through, you see, okay? So there's that aspect. But when you send this out, then you've got people, and let's say I love schnauzers, and I go, God, there's got to be some authors out there writing. So maybe I go in, I Google mystery, schnauzer mystery, and blank up comes your notice or your site. It'll say the name of the thing or whatever you've called your article, and they go, yay, and they can click on that, and they then are taken to your article, and that's how you pick up new people. And that's a very simplified form, but it behooves you to be as educated about tags and the best kind of tags and how to put them together. Typically, you're looking for 3. You can put other tags, but typically you want 3 tags that will make it recognizable. Now, I have to tag INWG on everything I do for the Guild because people are looking for that when they are looking for the latest info. But I'll use Spokane, writers, INWG. I may put meetings or other things so that if people are looking for a writers group that they can maybe go to a meeting, then that's what they run into. And it works. I've gone in and simply entered some things, and up on Google comes my Guild stuff. So it's, we have somebody wanting to come in here, Carol. So I cannot emphasize, and they all do it. You see it in all of these places that I'm referencing, that either have these blogs, they have a place for them, or they are marketing people, marketing websites that say you need to have this. And if you can only handle learning and doing one thing, they all say start with the blog. They don't try to do a big newsletter, don't try to do that, but start and learn and become very good. The quality of your blog should be very good. And then go from there. Yes, Jennifer.
A question. You had talked about cross-linking stuff, and I know when I've been Googling, mostly looking at writing tips or stuff, or I've gone to like try to find new authors of the genre I like to read. The site Goodreads is there, and I don't know, do you have to be like a traditionally published book
No.
to be on Goodreads?
No, because the people I'm on Goodreads, and what you're posting is, there are some other things you can do, but you're posting book reviews, and so you enter the name of the book. Now, it's possible that they won't have any knowledge of it, but considering the fact that the owner of Goodreads is Amazon, I'm pretty sure that most of the self-published books that are through Amazon is going to be on there. But what it does is it pulls up the book once, and then you enter your review or what have you. And,
Okay, because I can't remember if that had been one place, because sometimes I see either authors somehow some author gets referenced to another author, then I go to their website and they reference somebody else. And it's like they're links you can go down
Yeah, they're helping
sometimes.
each other. They're
But-
helping each other.
Yeah, but it seems that they're doing that themselves, you know,
They can,
putting a
yeah,
link
because
to
the
that or a
author,
link to this
when you,
person.
if I pull up a book, one of the things I always look for is in the process of adding a review, but you go down and there usually is a spot and it will say that this is a Goodreads author. In other words, the author themselves have an account on Goodreads. And so then you can follow them. And then I get tons of emails. Oh, there's a giveaway by another author you're following, another one, and I just delete them all because I don't have time. And I don't care. But you get, if you follow an author, you have that. And then the authors themselves, and well, we'll just stick with that. The authors themselves will recommend other authors that they like. And that's, you can just, yeah, you just keep piggybacking. Got quiet.
I think one thing you have to figure out is what your brand is, because if you write cozy mysteries and contemporary fiction, it doesn't always jive. And to do a blog or a newsletter to people, you have different audiences. And I know like Bob Dugoni writes in different genres and he doesn't write a newsletter, you know, and maybe that's why, I don't know, but I think you have to figure out your brand first and then figure out your audience and, um, you know,
Well, we're getting almost out of time.
So I have one last question. It's a follow-up question to Joan about brand. Are you defining brand with respect to genre?
well, that, yeah, it is, your brand does take into effect your what genre you write, you know, yeah. But who was it? Somebody in the gave a presentation on branding. I think his name was Colin Conway, wasn't it, Linda?
Conrad, yeah.
Yeah. And look at that, because he gave a good presentation, you know, on branding, but so I think you have to figure out, you know, what your brand is and who you want to market to, who your audience is, you know, and that'll help you figure out what to write on your blog or your newsletter, I think.
Yeah,
And
a brand is like every business, anybody who sells wants to have a brand. And Coca-Cola has a brand. And Penguin Random House is a publisher. They have a brand. And typically the brand is represented by some graphic. So I can pick up an arc that's sent to me and I can look at the spine if I'm in a hurry. I look at the spine and I recognize the chicken. I call it the chicken, but anyway, you know, or whatever symbol, and I go, oh, it's from someone, you know. So I set that aside because I want to look at that in a hurry. So it's a recognizable way of identifying you, so that your brand you can put something, whether it's a graphic for your, just like I was trying to think. In a sense, I'm branded all over social media and all over my website. I'm branded as a grizzly because that's the icon I use. So every social media that I'm on and every website and that, you can recognize immediately if you've got the right Linda, because it's a grizzly bear. Okay? And it's my way of, because I do so many different things, that's my way of connecting them all in a way so that people have something visual and quick. But so there's branding that Colin was referring to means you have to decide what it is you're trying to push. And then you try to figure out how to do that without confusing people. And if you use a brand that says, okay, my brand is Colin, just this example, Colin with a smiley face, then if you do cozy mysteries, and you put smiley face on the spine, and then you do horror, or let's say something even more pornography, and you put Colin smiley face, you're going to have some confusion when people pick up the wrong book to buy and are very shocked and very dismayed if they cannot tell that it's the same person for whatever reason. Maybe it's a different graphic, a different something, then they won't get that confusion because they won't buy that other book. They'll be looking for the Colin with the smiley face. And if there's something else on that spine, they won't. Now it carries through. That's just one quick way for people to identify, but it's an important one because we are visual. People are very visual these days, and people are in a hurry. And so any of the publishers, any of the major authors, they will tell you that that quick recognition is ever so important. And you don't want to confuse people because they will be very angry if they've been what they consider misled. I didn't know you wrote trash, kind of thing. So
That's where nom de plume can
Yeah.
come in handy
Yeah,
if
you
you're
can
getting
use-
into different
use a
genres.
different name, have a different visual concept in mind for your jacketing and all that, so that it's separate, and be sure you market them separately. You could maybe get a little bit of advice from, Colin has done it, and also oh dear, Frank Felice. He writes, he's even now started writing a children's book. So he needs to keep things pretty wrangled, otherwise there'll be problems. What we got? Do you want to mention what those are, MJ?
Well, just that you were talking about branding
Mm-hmm.
and that logo in the middle with the bridge and the clock tower and the wolf's paw on the moon.
Uh-huh.
That's on both jackets of my books, and that's the logo for the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody looks me up, if they're looking for that particular series, they're going to find that, and they're going to recognize that series. For
Mm-hmm.
my next series, I'm going to have another logo, but it will, still be attached to my name. So people will know precisely which series they're getting into from the branding.
Right. That's good. That's a good idea, because really is moving in that direction where people want to be able to do something quickly. Now, if you're published by Penguin Random House, for instance, or any one of its smaller imprints or people that it distributes, that company will have its logo on it. But then it's your name. It's your name that's important, and there might be a subtitle on there that would differentiate, like it might say Killers in the Sky, a Bruce Nelson mystery. And so they're looking for that Bruce Nelson mystery on every book.
The nice thing about Washington State is you can license your logo, and then you can put it on merch and nobody else can use it. And it's very simple. It's like literally you download a form, you fill it out, you send it in with a description and a picture of your logo. I think it costs something like $250, and it's yours for basically 5 to 10 years.
Sounds like
Something
a
like
trade. Is it a trademark registration?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. But you said Washington. I thought trademarks were global.
No, you can get one for Washington State
So
that
what-
will hold up here, basically, and you can argue it if anybody else uses it in any other state, but if you want to go to the big United States one, it costs a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say it, most major companies, like all of these logos that, like Penguin Random House, that's a trademark. And so, it's covered.
And also, when it comes to branding, one of the things that I've heard from other authors who are higher up that I follow is that when you have a website, with your blog, and you have like different profiles for Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or whatever,
Mhm.
make sure that your profile pic is the same one on every single one of them. Your profile picture has to match across the internet so people can find you and know that they're getting to the right site. Otherwise, they're going to be
Yeah,
confused.
that's why mine's a grizzly bear.
Hmm.
I've not seen anybody else use a bear in their icon. So
Yeah.
I'm unique. I love grizzly bears, so I decided I did not want my face out there in ways where people could misuse it. And so I don't put it on my profiles. You'll find me once in a while in a photograph, but there's no way to totally stand. Of course, I'm on this, but I didn't want to put a nice picture of myself on social. Oh, and somebody's asking, let's see, who is it that wants to, Dan, he wants to, let's see, license logo, and then this thing wants to move too fast. Info for Washington logo. Would it be the Department of Licensing?
Oh gosh, I'd have to go find my file. I can email you the information later this week.
That'd be great. And if
Okay.
you do that, I'll share it. I'm getting ready to send out a little information, a little newsletter that says, these authors have things coming out, blah, blah, blah. And I can include that in there. So it'll just be a little news for writers, and it'll have that stuff.
Okay.
Sounds great. I am trying to whittle my stuff down to be more often, but little bits, so that people can just scan and go, oh, that's cool. And you say here, Joan is bringing up Google Logo Maker. You might want to, is that on Google? You would look it up. It's one of the services that Google has.
No, just Google the word logo maker and it'll come up.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Google's offering so many things these days that I thought maybe it was one of their newfangled things that they wanted to get people to get into. Yeah, and there's artists all over the place. I had a logo made up for the guild. Yeah, if I ever want to use it for anything, it's somebody standing up in a small boat, and they are, going across water, and it's got a big feather, I think, as the deal, and it's kind of pretty. It's on the guild's website, but it's not something I'm using because I don't intend to publish through with IMWG. It's just sort of a picture, because people like pictures, and so that's the other thing to bear in mind is whenever you decide to do whatever format of reaching out to other people, be, consider current times and where we're at, and we really have a time when people are not very tolerant with a lot of text. And we're all writers, so we want to, and so, they're finding that you can put out something and with small blurbs. And if you'll notice some of the stuff you get, there'll just be these little paragraphs. And you go, why is everything so split? Well, that's because it's on purpose, because that's how people are reading now. They want to go through quickly and go, no, I don't care about words. And they'll land on a picture, and even I get a kick out of it because I get all these newsletters from the newspapers and all these the magazines and all these people, and one of the things they always have to put in there is some nice big picture with a joke or some kind of whatever, and because they know they want that stuff now. So,
Oh, Linda, you might be able to answer this question.
mhm,
Earlier when you were mentioning vlogs and podcasts,
uh-huh.
I believe the downtown library has a spot for that where you can do that for free, correct?
Yeah, my understanding is from people that they're about 6 months out. They only have so much time available. They teach you how to use the microphone and do all that, but I don't think it's something where you can just go there all the time and do it.
No. I was asking because I believe once you learn how to do it, it's easy to walk into Walmart and actually get a kit
Yeah.
for podcasting.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, Frank does his own in his office, and
mhm.
he had one on for ages. I think he's may have stopped doing that. I'm not sure. Um, there, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but at this point there are bazillions of podcasts, of blogs, I mean, it's just like crazy out there.
Yeah.
People are starting to really pull back and try to limit themselves in what they take in. So
Hmm.
it's almost catch as catch can at this point. Um, whether you can get people's attention. I'm personally in a position, I'm not trying to grow. I keep getting all these people writing me for the book club one, Addie's book, and also for the guild saying, I do website services and I'd be happy to redo your website and upgrade it this and that. And if you're looking to sell more and do that, and I always write back and I say, sorry, this is not a business. This is a place to hold information for the authors. I don't
Hmm.
need to make a change. Go away. And I wish you luck. I mean, I do wish them, I understand they're trying to make a living at this, or at least a partial living. But
Hmm.
no, it was a learning experience for me, and I'm still getting more and more learning out of it, but I have no reason to change anything. So, but it makes a difference. If you are trying to sell a product, then your mindset needs to be you need to lean onto the business side of it and find out what the business experts have to say about your website, its appearance, and the ease of getting around on it and all of that. Because if that's your point, then for me, it's just a creative repository. So I can always send people like Joan. I can say, okay, Joan, here's the page. Go here, and here's where all the links are for the later this year's uploads to YouTube. And it's easiest for me because then I don't have to constantly be trying to round up all this stuff and tell people because I'm constantly getting questions. So
Yeah, that was really nice that you put all that in
yeah,
one.
it works really well. I roll
Yeah.
it over every year. So there's like right now there's 3 years on there, and now there's soon we're going to start with a fourth year. So you guys
That
have had a lot of neat input tonight. I appreciate it. Go ahead,
that,
Joan.
that thing you sent out on self-publishing was really interesting, Linda.
Wasn't that something?
Yes,
I
that
was
was,
blown away. That it's
yeah.
2020. Did you guys read that? It's a long article. It's attached to that last the email I sent, I guess today, I think when I sent the link. I sent two separate emails. And the one it says INWG, something about a important article, large article, and it came out of a guy who does a lot. He watches the industry like a hawk, and he posted this. It came out of some ongoing. I think it's Bowker that does this every year and looks at everything. And they came out and said this in 23 there was 2 million some odd thousand self-published Bisbens views. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And-
incredible.
Yeah. And there were 530,000 plus traditional publishers Bisbens views.
Oh, was it traditional publishers or traditional books published?
Well, I meant books by traditional publishers.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
and
that's
outside.
what I thought it was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Traditional publishers' books that we're using. So, wow. But as you notice in my little message, I said, so the good news is, yay. The bad news is, think of the competition. You're up
Yeah.
against 2.5 million, something like that, I think, new self-published books in 1 year.
Yeah.
Oh, Jennifer, don't yawn, please.
Sorry, I finished my tea and now I'm like, oh.
I'm getting tired too, so we should probably call it a wrap. If you
It
think
doesn't mean at all though that this has not been interesting. This has been fascinating. I really appreciate everybody's input and the back and forth sharing. I think it's just been a really nice session tonight.
Yes,
We're gonna
I've
try to
enjoyed
do
it and I've
more
learned
of it.
much. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to do more of that, and the thing next year, we decided to do a stagger every other month, we'll have a presenter, and every other month we'll have a discussion topic, plus whatever else anybody wants to talk about. So that should be fun.
Real
So-
quick,
Happened to Kaylee with Kaylee Wright with the newsletter stuff. I thought she was gonna
I
give
did too,
She didn't, she backed out.
evidently.
Oh,
Hmm.
darn.
just real quick, in your next little blurb that you're sending out, Linda, if anybody has a newsletter or a blog or anything, could that be attached to it so we can start following each other and promote each other?
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'm gonna send out like what would I call it? INWG author news. And it'll just have whatever's new, whatever people. So if you have a blog, you write and say, I've got a blog. There are some now I can already put in there because I know
Okay.
people that are sending out, Cafe Rita sends out a newsletter and, so there's different people. And, yeah, also that's what I'm going to start doing. I've decided it's the best use of my time and your patience to just, do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for all this info because I will be saving the chat. It saves it automatically and I'll be able to go back and look at all this stuff. And did anybody's questions that you put in there not get covered or there was no real effort made to try to cover you up? That wasn't the intent at all, but okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here and you're a team. You really are. It's great to see you and go out there and have much success. Okay.
All
Happy
right, thanks.
Thanksgiving and happy holidays.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Yes.
thank you
Bye.
all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.